Namaskara. Uh, Welcome back to another episode on operating costing. In this particular module, we are going to understand about what exactly this operating costing, where it will be applied, how the cost is determined, how to prepare operating cost statement, how to calculate cost per kilometer, cost per passenger kilometer, calculation of fare, and so on. To start with, uh, let us understand what exactly the terminology in which we use as operating costing is concerned. What exactly it means? Operating costing is a process and a technique of accumulating and ascertaining the cost for providing a standardized service. It is an ascertainment of cost for providing a service to the public, to the people, to the common human being by an undertaking. Any kind of a service has been provided by an organization in the form of, let us say, maybe a transport industry, maybe a vehicle service, hospital industry to the patient, or maybe hotel industry to the customer. Like that, any kind of a service has been provided in order to identify what exactly the cost has been incurred in the rendering a service instead of the cost determined with respect to the manufacturing of an article or maybe a product or maybe a commodity. So it's purely the ascertainment of a cost for providing a service that exactly deals with what exactly is called operating costing. There are two definitions in one. One is such that is given by ICMA London. That is, uh, it defines that a standardized services are provided either by an undertaking or by a service cost center within an undertaking. So even the ICMA London also defines that it is a standardized services are provided by an undertaking or by any other cost center where exactly the services are provided by an organization. And as far as the application of operating costing is concerned, where exactly this operating costing is applied? See, this costing is applied by an organization which provides service to the public, to the general public, irrespective of the customer belongs to the caste, creed, religion, color, whatever. There won't be having any kind of a disparity as far as the rendering of a service is concerned. That's why we'll call it as service is to the public. So this particular costing is applicable to all the people instead of manufacturing of a product, service is rendered, and for that service, what exactly the cost is incurred, that will be determined. Take for example the transportation costing, or maybe electricity companies, or maybe movie theaters, or maybe hospitals, schools or educational institutions, etc. So there won't be any kind of a manufacturing an article or a product is concerned with respect to these industries where the standardized services are provided by these organizations in order to offer their services to the needy, say the public or the stakeholders. If you look at the nature of an undertaking, take for example the transportation industry, maybe where the goods are transferred from one place to another place, where maybe the trucks or the lorries are used by way of air, road, rail, or any mode of transport, where the determination of the cost is in terms of per kg, per kilo, per ton, or per quintal, and so on. So popularly, the services are calculated on the basis of cost per unit. Here the cost per unit for goods transport service is called cost per ton kilometer. Similarly, in case of a passenger transport like buses or taxis or cabs and so on, where the cost per unit is per passenger kilometer. Like that, hospitals, electrical supply companies, or a canteen service, etc., etc. In order to determine the operating cost incurred, where you need to prepare a separate statement in order to determine that. That statement is called operating cost statement, a statement of operating cost. The statement consists of two parts. One is the standing charges, another one is the running and maintenance charges. The standing charges are the fixed charges and running and maintenance charges are variable charges. Standing charges are those charges which remains fixed irrespective of utilization, whether it is underutilized or overutilized, the expenses remains the same. Take for example the rent or the salary or the tax paid or any kind of a charges which are incurred for interest, capital and so on. These are all the charges which remains fixed. Whether the movement of vehicles in case of a transportation industry, whether the one vehicle or two vehicles or 10 vehicles, whether the vehicle is moved for 10 kilometers or 100 kilometers or 200 kilometers, the salary remains the same, rent paid for the garage is the same, insurance remains the same, road tax remains the same. So the expenses in the nature of fixed in nature, that those expenses are called as standing charges. Second one is called the variable charges, that's called maintenance charges, where it will vary as per the usage. As and when the usage of the vehicle increases, the cost increases and vice versa. If the usage is less, the expenses are less, and the usage is more, expenses are more. That is what exactly in case of a running and maintenance expenses. So adding both standing charges and running charges is called total operating cost. That operating cost you may arrive at a figure called maybe a per month or per annum or per quarter as the case may be. So we can calculate this operating cost statement on monthly basis or quarterly basis or annual basis, whatever as per the requirements. Let us say for example per month. So what will be the total cost incurred in order to offer this kind of a service for one particular month? Say one particular bus, it travels on all the 30 days and makes some 3 round trips, having a capacity of 60 passengers and traveling on an average of around 80%, 20% empty, like this. For these kind of a situations, where the organization may incur varieties of expenses like driver salaries, tire maintenance, insurance, tax, rent, depreciation. So all these kind of things are taken into consideration in order to determine what exactly the total cost incurred by a particular vehicle for a particular month. On that basis, we can calculate what exactly the cost incurred for 1 kilometer. What exactly the cost incurred for 1 kilometer for one passenger. Based on this, we can calculate, we can fix the fare also based on our requirement of takings. So the bus fare or maybe rail fare or air fare or goods cargo fare can be fixed based upon this cost determination. So let us take an example and we'll solve how exactly this cost can be determined for this particular question. The question says that Pranav Transport runs a minibus with a capacity of 25 seats. The bus runs between two towns which are 25 kilometers apart. That is to say, one side is 25 kilometers. Total one round trip consists of 25 into 250 kilometers. The capacity of the minibus is 25 seats. It runs for 30 days in a month, all the days. On an average, 80% seating capacity is utilized. So out of 25 seats, only 80% is covered. That means to say remaining 20% is empty. The bus makes 2 round trips a day. So there are 2 round trips. That means to say 25 kilometers into 2 into 2. That's what you need to calculate for the total number of kilometers. 25 kilometers say one side. So both the sides comes to 25 into 2, 50 kilometers. 2 round trips, 50 into 2, 100 kilometers. This is what the total kilometers run by this particular bus. And the expenses are given where the cost of the bus, estimated scrap value at the end of the useful life of 10 years. This cost and the life is required for calculation of depreciation. At a straight line method, cost minus scrap divided by life, where you are going to calculate depreciation. Driver salary, conductor salary, manager salary, cleaner salary, all the four salaries, all the four kinds of salaries for four different personnel is fixed in nature because the salary is fixed component. And garage rent is given per annum basis. We need to calculate per month. 64,800 divided by 12 comes to 5,400. And life tax is given. Life tax is given as 1,44,000. The life of a minibus is given as 10 years. That's in the second item. Estimated scrap value at the end of its useful life is 10 years. So the life tax is for 10 years, 1,44,000 divided by 10 years, that comes to 1,44,000, that comes to per year. Now 1,44,000 divided by 12 months, you'll get some, 1,200. 1,44,000 divided by 10 years, 14,400 divided by 12, that comes to around 1,200. Yeah, 1,200 is the life tax per month. Rent lighting per month is given. It is a variable rent also, it's a fixed one, and the repairs, it's variable. Diesel oil, variable. And the profit expected is 20% of takings. So what is the kind of a profit in which we are going to get, and what is the price is to be fixed so that we can get a 20% on taking. So there is a question where you need to calculate the cost per passenger kilometer and fare per passenger kilometer. First, come to the solution. Before preparation of this operating cost statement, small working note is to be calculated. We need to know how many number of kilometers that bus has travelled, how many kilometers and how many passenger kilometers. This is the first working note is to be calculated. The first step is called calculation of total kilometers. In the question it says that the bus has a capacity of 25 seats, only one single bus, minibus. It runs between two cities having a 25 kilometers distance. So 25 into two sides, that is to say inward and outward, comes to around 50 kilometers. And it runs on all the 30 days in a month. So number of days travelled is 30 days. And the seating capacity is 80%. So first, while calculating the total kilometers, we need to take only the information pertaining to the kilometers, excluding passengers. Excluding passengers. So how to calculate this total kilometers? First, take total number of days. How many number of days? 30 days. The distance covered, distance covered is 25 kilometers. 25 kilometers one side apart. Therefore, both the sides comes to 50 kilometers. And how many round trips? Round trips comes to 2 round trips. Therefore, 30 days, 25 kilometers into both the sides multiplied by 2 round trips comes to 3,000 kilometers. So this particular bus, a mini bus pertaining to Pranav Transport Company, has travelled 3,000 kilometers in a particular month. Similarly, we need to calculate passenger kilometers. It's called calculation of passenger kilometers. Passenger kilometers comes to total kilometers into seating capacity into average capacity. See, the bifurcation of kilometers and passenger kilometers are needed for further calculation. Sometimes there may be diesel consumption or petrol consumption or any kind of a adjustments. It may be fairly related to only to the kilometers, so that's the reason we have calculated kilometers separately, passenger kilometers separately. Now, in case of a calculation of passenger kilometers, whatever the value, the number of kilometers in which you have derived, that will be multiplied with passenger details. So 3,000 kilometers is the total kilometers multiplied by the seating capacity of the bus is 25 seats. 25 seats, therefore multiplied by 25, and this bus is running with only 80% capacity. That means to say, not full capacity, around 20% is empty. So all passengers are not filled, where the bus has travelled with 20% of 20% empty. So only 80% seating capacity is utilized. Therefore, 3,000 into 25 into 80% comes to 60,000 passenger kilometers. So this is the first working notice to be calculated. And next comes to operating cost sheet. This operating cost sheet will be prepared by bifurcating the expenses into fixed and variable. Standing charges as the fixed, running and maintenance charges are the variable. The first item it is given in the question is called depreciation, that is to say the cost of the minibus is given as 30 lakhs, and where the scrap value is given as 1,20,000. Therefore, cost minus scrap divided by life is the formula for calculation of depreciation. So 30 lakhs minus 1,20,000, that comes to 28,80,000, and divided by the life of an asset is called 10 years, divided by 10 years, that comes to 28,80,000 divided by 12 comes to 24,000. So this is how we need to calculate the depreciation per month. 28,80,000 divided by 10 years, 2,88,000 divided by 12, 24,000. Next is driver salary. The four kinds of salaries are there: driver salary, conductor salary, manager salary, and cleaner salary. All the four varieties of salaries are fixed in nature, irrespective of number of kilometers and buses. It's the same. That is to say that it is fixed. Next is garage rent. Garage rent is given. That's to say 64,800 rupees. It is per annum is given. The rent per annum. As the rent per annum is given, we need to calculate for a particular month. Divided by 12 comes to 5,400. Next is life tax. As explained earlier, where the life of an asset is for 10 years, that is to say for a minibus, and where the tax paid is 1,44,000 for the 10 years. So 1,44,000 divided by 10 years, and we need to calculate for 1 month divided by 12 comes 2,200. Then the rent and lighting, one more rent and lighting is there, that is around 3,000 rupees. So repairs is given as 7,200. Diesel oil is given as 72,000. So these are the items in which it was given in the question, and find the total. Total standing charges are 6,300 rupees. That is to say fixed charges, and total variable charges comes to 1,03,200. So both A plus B comes to 1,66,800. That's called total operating cost per month. Operating cost per month comes to 1,66,800. There are two questions are there where you need to calculate cost per passenger kilometer and calculation of fare. So to calculate cost per passenger kilometer, already we have calculated as the total passenger kilometers. Passenger kilometers comes to 60,000. Therefore, cost divided by number of passenger kilometers, you will get 2.78 paise. So per kilometer per passenger, the cost is 2 rupees 78 paise. If the cost is 2 rupees 78 paise, what would be the bus fare? As per the condition, you need a 20% profit on takings. You need to add 20% on takings, not on the cost, on takings. So how to calculate that calculation of fare? As operating cost is 1,66,800 rupees, that is both A and B, the standard and variable. And as per the requirement, you need to have a 20% on takings. If profit is 20%, on takings, taking always 100%. If taking is 100%, the remaining will be 80% will be your cost. So 1/5 on takings is on 1/4 on cost, like that also you can do it. Or as the takings are 20%, always, profit is 20%, the bus fare or takings is 100%, therefore remaining 80% is called cost. If 80% equals to 1,66,800, what is 20%? That is what cross multiplication. 1,66,800 divided by 80 into 20, you will get 41,700. This is called the profit per month. And finally, your fare to be collected is 2,08,500. This is per month. If this is per month, in the sense, what is per passenger, that we can calculate. So passenger kilometers are 60,000. Therefore, 2,08,500 divided by 60,000, you will get fare per passenger kilometer. Per passenger per kilometer. So, per passenger per kilometer is 3 rupees 47 paise. This is how you need to calculate the total cost, total operating cost, and how to calculate the cost per passenger kilometer, and finally we have calculated fare. What is the amount to be collected from the passenger so that you will get a profit of 20% on taking. So, hope you have understood. Thanks for watching. Keep learning. Thank you. Stay safe.